Occasionally, I'll take an article and want to read it. I mean, you can read it yourself, but instead of me just trying to take screenshots of little sections and reference those, it's too much work. So I just want to read this and talk about it because it is something that I really do care about. And I just noticed that the author of this article and myself also happen to have the same last name, but no relation. So, the title of the article, as you can see, is Much as I Love Streaming Services, the end of 4K Blu ray will be a major loss for us all. And I could not agree more. I will be truthful in saying that I honestly don't have a 4K Blu ray player. I don't have a 4K TV. I do have a 1080p television, and primarily I try to watch 1080p Blu ray, so full HD. And even though technically the resolution of what I'm seeing is slightly less than the resolution of what this gentleman is referring to, both of them are going away. And both of them, in terms of quality, are a step up from the streaming services. So let's continue and we will discuss as we read. He goes on to say, I haven't been able to stop thinking about a major piece of tech news this week that has largely gone under the radar. That Disney is set to cease producing physical media and lean 100% into its Disney Plus streaming service. For the time being, it's slated that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will be the last physical disc to appear in Australia. Anyway, with other regions surely to be assessed on a business case. But even if you're unlikely to buy that movie on 4K Blu ray, I still think this decision is a major loss. So, right there, what he's saying, and what I saw too prior to even reading this article, is that in Australia, Disney is slated to no longer release physical media. And what does that mean? No more Blu rays, no more 4K Blu rays. And for a lot of people, it probably won't affect them. They just think, oh, well, I wasn't buying those anyway, or I wasn't renting them anyway. I mean, yes, Redbox still exists. Netflix is slated to shut down at the end of next month, but right now they technically still exist. And yeah, it's purely a numbers game. I can imagine of okay, we have this many subscribers and we make this much money off those subscribers. We release movies on disc and on that, we've seen the sales for our disc. Is it worth continuing to invest in physical media when we can take that same content technically and put it on a streaming service and have people pay a recurring expense every month to get whatever it is that they're looking for? You know what's weird? This ad is like, can I okay, all right, I just right clicked on it. Okay, and now we got another whatever. I'm not looking to file for a divorce. uh so yeah, in Australia it looks like that's what's going to happen. All right, let's continue going. Why? Much as I love the best streaming services of today, and sure, the ease of access has recently helped me watch the best fantasy shows I've seen in years, after stumbling upon a long haul flight, it's simply a question of quality. And I'm going to stop right there because quality is what I've been trying to preach to my friends that yes, it is extremely convenient to be able to sit down in front of anything that's connected to the internet and have access to millions of shows and episodes. Easy, very easy. But what you're sacrificing for that convenience is just flat out quality. What you're seeing on the screen is garbage. It is. And sometimes it's okay, but compared to what the producers and directors and all, the people who went into making that footage went through and what they wanted you to see, it's absolute garbage. So, let's continue. Just because something is labeled 4K UHD on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus doesn't mean it's the same actual quality that you'll get on a 4K Blu-ray disc. And in one of my older videos, I showed it, and I probably should update it or maybe repost it or something. I don't know, but it went to show that if you took a movie, and I forget the name of the movie, but it's something that was available to stream on Netflix and something that Redbox coincidentally happened to have in stock. And you can see that the contents of the movie when it's on disc is 20 gigabytes. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, well, what is that? Gigabytes. Okay. And I'll try to tie it all together in a moment. But 20 gigabytes. When I downloaded that same movie in the Netflix app, it was 500 megabytes. And I'm doing a little bit of rounding for both of them, but 20 gigabytes, 500 megabytes. And honestly, gigabytes and megabytes to you don't have to matter. But what I'll tell you is 500 megabytes is half of 1 gigabyte. Therefore, that movie, when downloaded in the Netflix app, is 1/40th the size of the same movie in terms of file size when it's on a Blu-ray disc. And that's even smaller than I'm sure what would be on a 4K Blu-ray disc, because I was just using a 1080p disc. But yeah, you might have the same resolution as he's saying, but the quality is just flat out gone. And we'll continue talking about that as we go into the rest of this article. As part of my job, I test the best TVs of today. And when it comes to testing our 2023 best OLED TVs in particular, I will always reach for our 4K Blu-ray source to get the best possible material for such screens. Sure, the resolution is potentially the same between disc and streaming equivalents, but the sheer amount of extra data in the physical media format is way higher. And that's what I was just referencing above, is that yes, we had the movie in the Netflix app, and then we had the actual movie file on the Blu-ray disc. The one in the Netflix app was a 40th the size of what was on the Blu-ray disc. And just to be clear, I'm not saying a fourth. I'm saying a 40th, 40. So big difference. And you are just losing a tremendous amount of data in video quality and audio quality when you have to put these stuff or when you're watching things on these streaming services. That additional data means you'll get less blocking, less banding, fewer artifacts, and ultimately just a better experience that is sharper, more pristine, and simply closer to how it's intended to be seen by the director. Do that in a darkened room, and truly you'll be able to feel the difference in watching a movie from a high quality disc format, no, not old DVD, compared to streaming it. So yeah, talking about DVDs. Yeah, DVDs were good for when they were a thing, but and they still are technically. But no, we're not worried about DVDs, just Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays. Yeah, just a massive difference in experience. And I don't feel bad saying it because it happened. I was dating a young lady. I mean, this was years ago. And it's like kind of a two-factor thing where we were watching something on Netflix. And we started playing it. And I'm watching it, sitting there, and I'm just like, this is bad. Like, I can't watch this at all. We need to watch. Like, I'm not going to compromise my experience for whatever it is that we were watching at that time because we are deciding to stream it. And if it was something that was available on disc, I don't know why I hadn't seen it yet. I really don't remember. But I remember, I was saying, we got to turn this off. I'm not watching it. It's bad. And I know it's not. I don't remember, what streaming plan she had. It was on Netflix, but I don't know what tier she had or whatever. But I saw a clear difference between what I know the disc would look like and then also what the streaming service was looking like as we were watching it. So, boom, no. Vastly different experience. Think about it in another way. When you head to the cinema for a major movie event, such as seeing Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, the theater won't just stream a mid-sized file from some hard drive. Indeed, in particular reference to that movie, it is, in its best possible format, the use of 70mm projection to exploit its IMAX shot production or deliver a resolution somewhere in the 8K to 18K region. You'll never get that on a 4K TV, and in its future streamable format, it will be a step down, a further notch too. So it's saying that, okay, if you go to theaters, boom, you're going to get this magnificent experience. Okay. Now, if you watch it on a disc and, when it's available, it won't be as good, but it'll still be pretty good. But then if you choose to stream it, which I'm sure, I don't know who made this movie. I don't know if, whatever streaming service it's going to be on, it's going to be a tremendous step down from that. And then now you're just like, well, the story of the movie is the same, but the overall experience is nowhere near what the director intended for it to be. So why is this happening? Well, it's twofold. On one hand, there's the convenience factor, with many people streaming onto all manner of devices in less than ideal quality because it's easy. On the other hand, it's a business decision to cease expensive production of physical material and further drive customers onto streaming subscription, which more than likely you'll fail to cancel month to month, thus being a bigger earner. Cool. So just saying, yeah, hey, it's money, 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 and that's pretty much what it is. Money. and convenience. But they don't really care about our convenience. I mean, I'm sure they do, but they're really just like, all right, how do we make more money from this? Cool. I like convenience. Of course I do. But I also like the greater spectacle, the event, if you will, of settling down, having specifically decided to watch a given movie and seeing it in its best possible quality from a 4K Blu-ray disc. That'll all go away, at least until some buffoons fix compression formats to be so smart in a way data is packaged that smaller file sizes will be able to match up to the same sort of quality as the original. But I don't see that happening tomorrow, or for streaming services to want to absorb the cost of higher quality unless taking YouTube Premium's quality upgrade is some model for success. Now, I'm going to stop right there. I'm not familiar with YouTube Premium and what all goes with that subscription. I don't have it, so I don't know. And in fact, let me just finish reading the last. It's only one more paragraph. And while I've seen others argue that previous formats have had their day, it is true, from VHS to DVD and so on, and streaming is the obvious format to conquer in here and now, in those older examples, it was typically a case of technology improving and enabling greater qualities in new media formats. Streaming is awesome. I'll continue to use it more than anything, but I think it's a major loss for all that its convenience will spell the end of 4K Blu-ray and therefore the best quality. So I'll certainly be buying more of 2023's best movies on 4K Blu-ray before it's no longer possible. All right, so a lot to unpack in those two paragraphs. So as I mentioned, not too familiar with YouTube Premium, so I can't speak too much on it. Maybe there's something going on there that other streaming services could potentially model. Don't know. As far as going from VHS to DVD and then DVD to Blu-ray, like, yes, what was happening is there were older formats and the newer formats were better than the older formats. So it was, okay, yeah, I don't use my VHS player anymore, my tape player, but this DVD is nothing but more convenient. So the quality of the video is better for the most part. Also, I don't have to rewind. I can, skip tracks or whatever. The disc is this big as opposed to a big block. If I need to carry multiple DVDs around for whatever reason, I can, fit them in the same sleeve as I would CDs at that particular time. And it just was a better experience. So yes, going from VHS to DVD was worth it. Going from DVD to Blu-ray was also worth it. Another optical disc, so the format in terms of how it physically looked wasn't too different. But when you watched the Blu-ray and then you compared it back to a DVD, you were like, wow, this is a big difference. All right, this is hands down a better experience. So that was great. And then, yes, 4K Blu-rays came out, and there were HD DVDs in there, but we don't really talk about those since that was the losing platform. But going from streaming from Blu-rays is abundantly more convenient, as he says, as everybody knows. But all you're doing is you're adding convenience. You're stripping away what was good about the technological improvements of the past. You want something new, there should be something better about it. So we are saying, okay, newer formats, better quality, better video, better audio, easier to use sometimes, and it's just good. When it comes to streaming, the only upside is just convenience. And I want to roll that into the preceding paragraph because convenience is really only convenient if you view it as convenient. So as I'm saying, yes, it is nice or convenient to be able to sit down at your TV and have access to millions of shows and movies. But for some people like myself, I very rarely am like, oh, okay, let me just sit down and find something to watch. I used to do that. But now I think I've become a little more intentional with what I'm watching as opposed to just consuming the masses. And because I'm not in any rush to watch something today or this particular thing, or I don't just say, well, just turn something on and have something on. I want what I want, and I want it the way that I want it. So I don't need things to be on demand 24/7. Yes, it is convenient to have that if that's what you want, but I would much rather wait in my situation for something to come in the mail and watch what I actually want to watch in the quality that I actually want to watch it. So convenience is it's subjective. It really is. I have a Hulu account and I'll watch stuff on it sometimes. And yes, it is nice to say, oh, well, I thoroughly enjoy watching Archer. So I can watch as many episodes of Archer as I like. And it's nice to have that, but I feel like they need to be companions to each other. So yes, if I want to just watch something, even though I just said I really don't often just turn something on just to have it on. But if I wanted to do that, it's nice to have that as an option. But I'd also like to say, well, for some of these movies, like he mentioned Oppenheimer, I just saw Fast X a couple of days ago. Got the disc in the mail. Actually, no, I got the disc from Redbox. Excuse me. Great. I mean, the movie was fine, but in terms of the overall experience, I don't want to watch that on a streaming service. I just don't. I want it to be good quality. Now, going back to the preceding paragraph, he's talking about um, fixing compression algorithms and things like that. Well, he said compression formats, but yeah, the algorithms that go into compressing stuff. Yeah, if they improve, then what we get from a compressed file will be better and closer to the original. That is an option. That takes effort. And if there's no need for these companies to do it, they're just not going to do it. I mean, at some point, in the future, something will happen. But as far as I can tell, they're just like, we are satisfied with the product that we are giving you. And for our engineers or computer scientists or whoever to try to find another format that is better than what is currently available, don't know. Also, in terms of those types of things, I can imagine there has to be a concern for compatibility, because if you're watching it on something that isn't a web browser, I can imagine the app needs to support it. The piece of hardware that the app is running on needs to support it. Heck yeah, if you're watching it on a web browser, the web browser probably, well, no, does need to support it as well. So that could be another cause for concern in terms of being able to implement something like that. It would have to become probably an industry standard, and then hopefully, these companies would actually adopt it. So that is one thing, making the compression algorithms better. The other thing, which I was thinking about, is, well, why do that? Okay. Yes, as I was saying before, that movie, when downloaded in the Netflix app, was 500 megabytes or half of a gigabyte. Why couldn't I download something that was 20 gigabytes? Now, I know that's a big file. And I know that these ISPs, internet service providers, don't want people just downloading, 20, 40, 50 gigabyte files all willy-nilly. So from a business perspective, I would say, well, we need to find a way to make it a thing that is possible to do, but not give you the free range that you have when it comes to streaming services. Like, yeah, I would be okay with not being able to download the entire Netflix category, Netflix library. Few movies. I mean, and of course, few is subjective, but hey, certain movies are eligible to download, or eligible to download at certain periods of time, or depending on your tier that you're paying for, you can download X number of movies at a time, or have X number of movies downloaded at a time. Like there are ways to do it where it doesn't really interrupt whatever it is that these companies, might be concerned about. Internet traffic is going back and forth all the time. I mean, it is insane how much how much data we are truly sending back and forth. And you can say, well, I don't need, to be able to stream all these things all the time, because I'm not. But let's say I want to download this one file, and I can download one movie a week. Okay. And then once I watch it and delete it, I can download another 20 to 40 gigabyte file, and other people are doing it, but it's not going to be something that's just happening all the time. Who's going to do it? I don't know. I mean, heck, I would be willing to pay for that. Like, oh, okay, this is just another tier, or this is an add-on to my tier. I'd be more than willing to pay for that. And then it kind of resembles what's going on with the Netflix disc in the mail of, okay, well, I pay for 3 discs out at a time. All right. Once I finish viewing a disc, I put it back in the mail and I wait for another one to come. Same thing could go with this download stuff. I pay to download 3 movies at a time. I watch one movie, and when I'm ready to watch it, and when I'm finished, I delete it, and then I check out another movie, so forth and so forth. And um, the only caveat, I guess, I'd have to say is, well, the hardware, which the streaming service probably isn't as concerned about, would need to be able to store files that large and to have enough storage on board to potentially download multiple of those files. So that's that. Okay. So I think I've covered everything. I might have missed something, whatever. But the thing that I wanted to, I guess, wrap this up with is I am talking about convenience and how I'm like, well, I don't need to be able to have access to millions of whatever at a time. Um, yeah, I am okay waiting to get stuff in the mail if what I'm getting is better quality. Because for the most part, I'm going to be stationary when I'm watching it. Now, the one thing in terms of sacrificing quality for convenience that I am okay with, and I think most people would too, what would be too, is audio quality when listening to music. Because I am not always at home when I'm listening to music, I am okay. And this is, going back to what, the early 2000s, if not late 90s, when MP3 players and the iPod, whenever that came out, when that was really a thing, it was like, hey, okay, well, I'm walking around and, we can pretend this is an iPod, and I have 1,000 songs in my pocket. I am okay with that type of convenience because I don't want to have to lug around a bunch of CDs anymore or tapes or just listen to the radio. I am okay with sacrificing some quality if I'm able to carry around 1,000 songs in my pocket. Okay. And that was when we were downloading stuff or ripping CDs or whatever. But even with streaming services, streaming audio, I'm okay losing that quality if I can stream music all the time while I am not at home. And that to me is a compromise worth making. And it makes sense. It really does. I will say though that I did recently subscribe to Qobuz, and they market the fact that they have high res audio, and I have I think I've been a subscriber for about 2 months now, and I feel like I hear a difference. I really do. I am using Bluetooth, so I'm sure if I use a wired connection, there'd be a little better. But with LDAC and whatever else, in terms of, I guess aptX for these, I think aptX HD or whatever, and LDAC for, I think my Sony headphones. That helps with it. And yet, like I said, if I wanted to connect a wire, I would, and I'd probably get some added benefit to that. But for the time being, I'm okay with this arrangement. Okay. I also have a Spotify account because when I'm out and about, Spotify does not count towards my data allotment for the month. So everything right there, like that's the complete package. If I want higher quality stuff, I use Qobuz with these headphones. When I'm out and about, I'm okay having a separate service for music that is lower quality, but also doesn't count against my data allotment. So that is two systems working together that satisfy my needs. Everything that we've talked about in this video is how we are just replacing something with something else, and that replacement is more convenient, but not nearly as good as what we're getting rid of, which is, of course, not the case with all of the other previous technological advancements. So we are replacing something, but what we're replacing is worse than what this new thing is. Streaming is convenient, but it is not as good as what is replacing. So I know that I am definitely in the minority when it comes to caring about this, but as he's saying, it's like, hey, we have people who make these masterpieces, and we are taking their masterpiece and we are pretty much shitting on it. Like, oh yeah, I just saw whatever, but it looked bad. It was on Disney Plus or Hulu or Netflix or whatever. Whereas if we were still able to watch it on the disc, which for now we can, then it would truly be, and a lot of them are, spectacles. So I will leave you on that. The last real notable movie that I watched that was interesting. And I know I did say I watched Fast X, but I did get Gemini Man a couple weeks ago, and yeah, just watching that, I was like, man, this is great to watch. You know, not 4K Blu-ray, but regular Blu-ray, great to watch. I know I've seen it on a streaming service, and I was just like, yeah, like, really, really not that great. So I think I've rambled on enough. I know there are other people out there who feel the same way that I do. This author, I mean, you can't see. Well, you can. There are 129 comments. I haven't read any of them. Probably won't. But yeah, it's going to be unfortunate when that's what we're forced to do. Oh, and the other thing that I do want to say though, because I mean, we're at 26 minutes, so nobody's going to get this far anyway. When it comes to Qobuz, so Qobuz, Tidal, and I think there's another Deezer, I believe. They are bragging about the fact that we are now streaming CD quality audio. Okay, and some higher res stuff too, but I know CD quality is something that really comes around quite often. And I just want you to think though, we are in 2023 when I'm making this video. I don't remember exactly when they started marketing that they're streaming CD quality audio, maybe a couple years ago, but we were using CDs in the 90s, So for half a lifetime to go by before we're able to stream what we were listening to in terms of physical media, it seems like a bit much. My hope is that since Blu-ray and streaming are currently happening simultaneously, whereas CDs were out before streaming, maybe there'll be some quicker advancements in terms of what we're able to view through these streaming services. But for the time being, we'll do what we can and hope for the best.